totally just did one of those Remembering Forgotten Memories videos, but basically I have no schedule set for them. I kind of just make them as something occurs to me that I feel like on some planet is worth sharing. This one isn't so much a story as a mental snapshot, and probably in all reality would be better suited for a blog post somewhere, but nobody ever reads my blogs, so I feel like at least somebody will see it here. I don't know who, but somebody watches these, so anyway. It's weird how something as simple as a scent can take you back to another place, another time in your life. Something just as subtle as that. And I mean, I live in California where generally it stays hot most of the year, but yeah, the other night I don't know what exactly around here put this scent in the air since we don't even have these plants around our house, but all of a sudden there was like this smell of gardenias in the air, and I was like, I don't know what exactly that was, but all it took was one little gust of that through my bedroom window that night, and it took me back to being a teenager, sitting on my Nana's porch on a summer night, and just realizing how many summer nights I spent that way. Well, not the entire night, but I mean, pretty much I didn't have the normal child and teenage experiences of like going and hanging out with friends. Pretty much all my time was spent either at school, at home, at one of my two grandparents' houses, either one, take your pick depending what day of the week it was, or with my cousins. That's about it, unless I was lucky enough to get to tag along to go to a store, or even rarer if I got to go to a concert with my dad. That was literally it. That was my world. I didn't even have friends until the internet when I was like 9 years old. I'd never had them before that. So, anyway, yeah, so I had like the total helicopter parent thing going on to where they would just hover no matter what, and there was never really any privacy anywhere. Hated it. Still kind of do, but the one place where I was allowed a little teeny tiny shred of freedom, which to most people probably wouldn't even view it as being a freedom, but nobody was hovering over me in that moment, would be like on my Nana's porch, where technically I'm close enough to where they know where I am, they know I'm not up to anything, but far enough away to where it's just quiet and I don't have to hear people. It's just solitude. It was wonderful. And I would go out there sometimes with a book or with a notebook to write or doodle things. Sometimes I'd just go out there and just look up at the sky or just lay on the concrete and just think about things and let my mind wander. Didn't really matter what it was, but I would go out there for hours at a time. If not out there, then on their back deck. It didn't really matter that much to me, but I liked the front porch since at least if I sat on the ground, I knew they weren't even like staring out at the window at me. I had a tiny little shred of privacy that way versus in their backyard, unless I went and sat in the plants, which wasn't that uncommon either. Yeah, pretty much you could see any angle out there at any time. So this was like the one place I could go for a teeny shred of privacy for at least a little while. So I would take advantage of that. And I just remember the smell of all the plants in that yard and the smell of tan bark in a different part of the yard. Smell of moss growing on the side of the concrete steps. Smell of wet concrete whenever somebody would run the hose over things to keep it cooler in the summer because heat radiates off of cement, and that one probably doesn't even sound like that big of a thing to where it would trigger much of a memory, but when you grow up somewhere where you don't even have concrete, you don't even have a sidewalk near your house, you just have gravel and that's the closest thing to a paved thing you even have in your yard because you don't even live on a road, it's kind of a luxury. Yeah, you heard that right. I literally grew up in a refurbished barn. So there wasn't even a street that came to our house. It was a gravel pathway off of a street. Like, it was really, really secluded. And technically we're still on that same property, but at the other end of it now. At least we're a little closer to the street. But still, it doesn't sound like much. But when you grow up not near that, you associate something as subtle as that scent with somewhere else. And in my case, I associate that with my Nana's yard for whatever reason, even though I'm sure that there are plenty of other wet pavement places that I've experienced in my life, but that's the one that it always conjures up when I smell wet pavement, and I don't know why. But not just wet pavement like it rained or something, but specifically summer heat, hot pavement that has been wet down by a hose. It's a very specific scent that I don't really know how to describe, but it's one of those things that you know it when you're around it, but you generally don't give it much of a thought. Yeah. I would just sit out there and listen to the quietness. You could always hear crickets, even though it was on a street, not a very busy street, but still a street nonetheless, which is another one of those things that you don't grow up near one, and it's almost a luxury to you to even get to hear cars driving by and to watch them from a distance. It's just, sometimes I would just space out and watch the cars for a while, because it wasn't a thing I could do from my house. I did this at my other grandma's house, too, for the same reason. Not always outside, sometimes from their kitchen table, but yeah, same thing. Even though that grandma lived on the same street as us, but she actually was at the street, whereas we were not even technically on the street, we were on a side road off of the street, if that makes any sense whatsoever. But yeah, I just realized how much time I spent out there as any form of an escape whatsoever, because if I were anywhere else, didn't matter where, any room of that house, there would be somebody just hovering everywhere. Didn't matter where. Like, you do not even understand. Helicopter parenting to the point of not letting you take a bath alone. Like, they wouldn't get in the bath, but would, like, watch from the doorway because they were convinced I would drown if I were left unattended. Ignore my nephew, he's a baby. But, yeah, like, if I had been a tiny little kid, that would make sense, but as a, like, pre-teenager to teenager, it started getting weird after a while, to the point where I had to argue for the privilege to be left alone in there, and that, trust me, I can handle myself just fine. I'm not going to drown. I promise. Yeah. That. At the time, I didn't realize that not everybody had this situation going on. I honestly thought that's how everybody's parents were. And then I realized it was just my mom that was like that. Yeah. With that in mind, does it really surprise anybody where my intense anxiety issues stem from? I think we know what part of the family they come from now, but, yeah. But that aside, that's not what we're here to talk about. Just realizing how much I miss that. Because it's been 10 years since my Nana's been gone. It's been even longer since I've been able to go out on that porch, since she was sick in her last years, and pretty much we spent all our time with her at that point. And my other grandma has been gone 2 years as of yesterday, and hard to believe that's even a thing, that it's been 2 years already. And just thinking about how much I miss them. I mean, it's one of those things you really take for granted and don't realize what you've got till it's gone, that both they themselves and the entire experience of getting to spend time with them and getting to just hang around their houses even, because, I mean, for me, they were like second parents. I honestly spent more time at their houses than at my own house. Like on Mondays, and then it switched to Tuesdays later on, I was at my Nana's house. Every other day of the week after school, I was at my grandma's house. So between the two, I was pretty much always with one of them. And then on weekends, most of the time was still at my grandma's house, but down at the barn. So sometimes during the week I would go down to the barn too, but since I never thought to pack normal clothes with me, since at that point I was still going to private school, I had to wear a uniform, and she didn't want me to get my uniform dirty, since I only had the one. But, so pretty much had to either watch from the sidelines if I went down there during the week, or wait till the weekend to actually really get to interact with the horses. So pretty much only got to ride them on weekends, except for the very few occasions I remembered to actually pack normal clothes in my backpack. Usually at the sacrifice of packing anything else in there, and would get in trouble at school for that, but beside the point. Yeah, you guys that go to a public school have no idea how good you have it not having to wear a uniform. Oh my gosh. Let me just tell you that that is one hell of a privilege. I didn't get that privilege till 8th grade, so. Yeah, anyway, yeah, just realizing how much time was spent between those two houses, and the reality that I am never going to be able to go into those houses again. I mean, it's not like this is a new reality. They've been gone for however many years respectively now, but I mean, at least in the case of my grandma's house, there is still my cousins now living in that house, so if I wanted to, I feasibly could at least still go in there, but it's not the same. It's not the same stuff in there. It's not the same. But in the case of my Nana's house, I know I'll never get to go in there again, because we don't even know who ended up buying it. So, can't really invite yourself in and go, hey, my Nana used to live here, can I see your house? That's not gonna work. As much as I wish the world worked that way, that's not gonna work. So, pretty much part of me has wondered what exactly that house looks like now. Part of me has also been heartbroken every time it's resold and resold again, and I've looked on the realty websites just to click through the pictures to see what the inside of the house looks like now, and seeing how much they've changed it, and just how much my grandparents would probably be turning in their graves if they saw what was done to it. Oh my gosh, especially one bathroom in particular used to be my grandpa's, and they painted it red and gold, like a yellowy gold. My Nana would be spinning in her grave if she saw that. She had the biggest aversion to putting red and yellow together on the face of the planet. Not really sure why, but she could not tolerate it. And to know that somebody intentionally painted one of the rooms in that house like that, I'm just like, I wonder if this has anything to do with the reason that that house has sold like 4 times since she died. Because, take into account, it's only been like 10 years, and then it's been resold that many times. I'm like, there's some paranormal stuff going on that keeps resulting in this place reselling by any chance? This would be my guess, and I am a firm believer in that kind of stuff. I have witnessed that kind of stuff firsthand, so you can call bullshit all you want, but I believe my own eyes, and I've seen some very freaky shit that's undeniable in how solid it was. So, whatever. But I do wonder if that's part of why that house is resold so many times in such a short time span. I wouldn't put it past her to kind of be going after people for something like that. Well, not in a malicious way, but enough to make her displeasure known. And yet nobody has painted that room back, or at least anything else that's not red and gold, which is hideous. Ugh, but yeah, it was such a classy looking house. I don't know what the first buyers after her did to it, but they wrecked it. They ripped out all the plants in the front yard, which I would have my grandpa rolling in his grave, since he was a very avid gardener. He had rose bushes everywhere that he had tended to meticulously his entire life, right up practically to his dying day. I think it was actually, he was outside when he had to have the ambulance come take him to the hospital, and he never came home again. But yeah, to know that they tore all of those out, and basically all the hard work he had put into those plants for decades ended up being for nothing. It bothers me so much, because I know how much it would bother him. And I think the last person who bought it at least put a lawn back in, but it's hardly plants, it's just a lawn. But I mean, it's a step in the right direction, I guess. But yeah, I've looked at it on Google Street View a few times over the years to see whenever they've updated it, so I can see how it's changed, and just It bothers me an awful lot, way more than it should. But what can you do, right? But, yeah. It's one of those things where part of me desperately would love to try and swing by there, but what would be the point? Because it's not like I could go in. It would look really creepy to just go by that house for absolutely no reason whatsoever when I don't think I even know anybody that lives on that street anymore since everybody that used to be there has moved. And yeah, that. At least if I knew somebody nearby, I could ask them if they knew the people in there and try to finagle some way in there to at least see the house that way. But yeah, I don't know anybody over there anymore, so that is that. That's pretty final. Like I said, at least with my grandma's house, I feasibly could, but I've still, in the entire time my cousins have been living there, I have not been able to bring myself to ask if I could see it again. I saw it one more time right before they moved in, just for some finality in my own head, but given how bad of a meltdown I had over that, I don't think it would be that great of an idea for me to actually pursue that. That's why I haven't done it. I know better. Got way too choked up at seeing all the things changed and all the things gone from where they used to be. And it would upset me more to see it now, knowing that a few of the things that had been left there for them, my cousin's abusive boyfriend felt the need to break, and just the little touches that made it my grandma's house are basically now all gone, and I can't deal with that. So I'm just like, as much as curiosity has almost gotten the better of me on quite a few occasions at this point concerning that house, not quite enough to actually go through with it. So I'm pretty sure I'll just leave that one be. I don't think they're going to be in there that much longer anyway. They had like a 1 year lease, and I think then they're raising the rent, and they won't be able to swing it. So that'll be that, because I won't know whoever the new people are that move in. So that. And it makes it that much weirder that it's on the same street as us, which means we have to drive past it all the time, and part of my brain still expects to see their car in the driveway, and it's not there, and expects to see their patio furniture on the patio, or on the porch, I mean, and that's gone. I mean, half of it's in our backyard. I know in my head that it's not there, but my brain still expects to see it there, much like it expects to still see houses that, or not houses, trees that were chopped down like 15 years ago alongside our old house, and obviously they're not there. They're not coming back. My brain still tries to fill in the blanks and put them there when I think of it, but then I look and it's like, yeah, no, those are not a thing. Those haven't been a thing for a long time. But it's funny how your brain does that, isn't it? It just, like, takes a snapshot of a specific point in time, and when you think of that thing, that's what it conjures up, however it was at that time. It doesn't matter what the reality is now. That's the way you remember it being. It's just so strange how vivid some of it can be, and other parts are almost completely forgotten. I never really know why or how that works the way that it does, just that it does. And the ones that are really vivid, I kind of cling on to for dear life, because it's almost like getting to relive it and be there for a few minutes anyway, till, the memory passes, and that's that. But for a little bit, if it's vivid enough, it almost feels like you're there again. And those are the sort of things that I admittedly cling to really, really hard. And I'm sure any psychologist would be like, yeah, you're clinging on to the past way too hard. You need to let it go. And I'm like, yeah, no, I don't want to let it go. I would much prefer to hold on to it. Because I feel like people are so quick to throw things away these days. Even their own memories. I can't get behind that. That's all fine and well for somebody else, but it's not fine for me. So, that's just me. I know I'm sort of in a nostalgic reflecty kind of mood today. I'm not really my normal, chipper, upbeat self. I'll try and pull it together for the next video, because I'm gonna try to do at least one more thing later today, but yeah. It may be much later today so I can pull my shit together, but anyway, that's about as long as I think I can ramble on this. This got way off topic from the original point of where I was going with it, because like I said, it wasn't any specific sort of a story. It was more of just a snapshot in time and then turned into stream of consciousness babbling, so for whatever it's worth, this is really not important to anyone but me, I suppose. So, yeah, that. So I'm just gonna turn this camera off now, because I'm just babbling.